First oral question, Baroness Hoy.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
The Home Office has previously reviewed the potential for the introduction of UK-only queues, most recently during the period the UK left the EU. Analysis conducted has found it would have a negative impact on border fluidity, but however we do keep our border systems under review.
I thank the Noble Lord for that. It might be helpful if we could all see how that assessment was done. Perhaps that could be put into the library. I wonder if he agrees with me that it's not really about length of queues and terms of waiting times. It's about a principle about people coming back into their own country, just like happens all over the world. And would he look again at this? Because really it does seem as if we, UK citizens coming in, should be given our own British entry point, unlike what is happening at the moment.
I did say to the noble lady that it would lead to longer queues, so perhaps that's symptomatic of the impact of Brexit as a whole. I think that the noble lady needs to recognise that British and Irish citizens, citizens of the Commonwealth, citizens of reciprocal countries can use those border gates and can use border entry accordingly. And in doing so, what they are doing is actually helping to reduce the queues. If we had a British-only queue, we would have longer queues for British citizens. That's not what I want to see.
Lords, as the Minister has said, the converse of the proposal is that other lines would get longer. Does he agree that growth for this country requires us to be welcoming to both business people and tourists? So isn't it about capacity and organisation?
One of the government's key objectives is the issue of growth, and we will look at both, again, with European nations and others as to how we can ensure that the Britain remains a welcoming place to individuals to come and do business and come and do tourism. 55% of the people who come through a gate at any of the ports or of entry in the United Kingdom are, however, currently UK citizens, and therefore the noble lady's proposal would mean that that 55% had a longer queue if there were specifically British-only gates.
Since the noble lady who raised this question was one of the principal advocates of Brexit, does the Minister not agree with me that she's got a bit of a brass neck raising this question and she's appropriately wearing the right jewellery to show it?
Well, I know that my noble friend will reflect on his comments and will understand that the politics that may divide us do not go down to what individuals wear in the chamber, and I hope that he can accept that. But let me say that the noble lady took a principled stand on Brexit. It's a stand that I disagreed with. I voted Remain and campaigned for Remain, but it's a stand that she took and she has won. There are consequences to that Brexit agreement that the government is now currently looking at. There are issues to do with how we can reset a relationship post the 9 years since the referendum on things like security, on the issues that Baroness Hanway mentioned around growth. But there are still fundamentals that we have to maintain to that Brexit settlement, and that's what the government will do, to try to ensure that we get the best for Britain, as we've always tried to do. And the differences between the noble lady and myself are stark, but ones which I hope we can deal with in a civilised manner.
Leading on from the noble lady Baroness Howe's question, can the government confirm whether it will seek to renegotiate arrangements with EU airports to ensure that reciprocal fast-track access for UK citizens similar to what is provided for EU travellers? And can the noble Lord the Minister outline what investment is being made in staffing and technology at UK Border Force to reduce waiting times for British citizens at peak travel periods?
The answer to the noble Baron is yes. We will continue to look at how we can get reciprocal arrangements with our European partner nations. We do that on an individual basis. It is a matter for each individual nation as to whether they wish to have that reciprocal arrangement, and we will continue to work to try to achieve that in the interests of cooperation. This government is investing significant amounts of resource in border security, and that includes the access gates and others at airports such as Heathrow, Gatwick and around the country. That resource that's being invested in extra border security is money that we have saved from the wasteful Rwanda scheme that the Noble Lord supported. We're going to put that resource into protecting our borders, and I will certainly go back to him in due course as to specific numbers and specific amounts of investment on those particular issues that he's raised.
My Lords, the noble lady asked about people coming into this country. We are one of the few countries that we do not have exit checks. Most other countries, you scan your passport when you leave the country as well. Don't you think that would be a good idea from a security point of view in having control over our borders and our immigrations and students, for example, coming in and out, that would help us to be on top of the figures?
It's an extremely sensible suggestion, and it's one that I advocated in opposition 15 years ago. And the previous then government, when we were in government in 2009-10, were looking at that particular issue. I see the Noble Lord West nodding. He was in the Home Office with me at that time. It's an important issue that we know who goes in and who comes out. And one of the areas of migration challenges that we've got currently are people who are overstaying, and therefore that is a main focus for the government, to look at how we can reduce that impact and make sure that people are here legally in the United Kingdom at all times.
My Lords, my Lords, I wonder if my noble friend could comment on the proposed new arrangements governing travel between the UK and the EU and vice versa. Could he say a little bit more about when these arrangements will come into force? And are we ready to meet the bureaucratic and other difficulties that will follow from introducing them?
The European Union, which is its right to do so, is introducing an ETA for non-European Union members. And one of the consequences of Brexit is we are a non-EU member, and therefore citizens of the United Kingdom will have to face that challenge in due course. As of now, there is no specific date for an introduction of the European transit arrangements, but that was coming downstream, and we need to examine that and obviously take cognizance of it and its impact on a range of issues in relation to the United Kingdom in due course.
My Lords, the noble lady's question had very little to do with Brexit and a great deal more to do with the Schengen arrangements, of course, of which we were never actually a member. But I have my own question, which is this. When I fly from an Irish airport into Heathrow, I do not get asked to present my passport on arrival in compliance with the common travel area arrangements, of which, of course, we are a member. But when I fly from a British airport to an Irish airport, a direct flight to an Irish airport, I am required to queue up and show my passport. Has the noble lord recently had discussions with the Irish government about whether they are fulfilling their obligations under the common travel area in a fully reciprocal way?
Good point. Well, my understanding is that the movement between Ireland and the United Kingdom is one where there is no border control currently, and that is because as a former Northern Ireland minister as well, but also in relation to the settlement that his previous government made, that is part of the establishment to make sure we meet our obligations under the Good Friday Agreement. If he wishes to give me an example of where the Irish government outside of this chamber has checked passports, I will certainly look at it, investigate it and report back to him and if need be to the House in due course.
My Lords, before any decisions can be made about dedicated passport routes, it will be necessary for Doncaster Sheffield Airport to actually reopen. So could my noble friend the Minister, when he is next in discussion with transport ministers, raise the issue of Doncaster Sheffield Airport and emphasise how important it is for growth and tourism, as he mentioned earlier?
Well, I know that my noble friend has made the case for the airport in Doncaster, Sheffield and other places, which I forget on a regular basis. It was once called Robin Hood Airport. Whether it's still a discussion around that is important. What I will give her an assurance is that I will discuss that with transport ministers, but however and whenever that airport develops, it will have strong borders, along with every other airport in this United Kingdom, to ensure that we control our borders in a firm and effective way.
My Lords, as a former chairman of Visit Scotland and ex officio member of the British Tourist Authority, I regularly saw research which showed that tourist visas to this country were both very expensive and complicated to obtain. The governments, various governments have made various promises about trying to do something about that. May I ask what progress the government has in looking at both the complexity and the cost of visas for tourists to this country who provide so much wealth for us?
Again, I say to the Noble Lord that the figures I've given to the House today show that 55% of passport usage through gates in the United Kingdom is from British citizens. That self-evidently means that 45% isn't. And that 45% is a significant number of people. There's 130.9 million arrivals in the United Kingdom, so 45% of 130.9 is around 65 million arrivals. That's an important growth element for business and for tourism, and it's one that we should be encouraging. And I would certainly want to make sure that we have integrity on our borders, but we also make sure that we are welcoming and open to business, to tourism, and the spend and the international support that gives when people return from this United Kingdom to their own native country and excel the virtues of this country that we're very so proud of.